the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome tonight. The President attends his maiden mid-year coordination AU summit, advocates unity, visionary leadership and good governance for Africa, also appeals to heads of government to work towards having a stable continent devoid of conflicts. Shock as first-year female undergraduate student of Osun State University is arrested for alleged advance fee fraud and armed robbery. School wields big stick, suspends her from the university. Doctors in Cross River State embark on indefinite strike over the abduction of one of their own. State chairman of the Medical Association says the female doctor was kidnapped from a residence by armed men. And world number one Carlos Alcaraz affirms his position as the world number one indeed by beating Novak Djokovic in 5 sets to win his maiden Wimbledon title and second Grand Slam title. We begin tonight with the President's maiden appearance at the 5th mid-year coordination meeting of AU African heads of state and government in Nairobi, Kenya. President Bola Tinubu and other leaders at the well-attended event declared their commitments to advancing integration, development and cooperation within the continent. The leaders representing the Bureau of the Assembly of the African Union and chairpersons of the 8 regional economic communities, as well as regional mechanisms, concluded with the adoption of a draft declaration. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Amarachi Ubani, reports.
President Bola Tinubu joined other African leaders in attending the African Union's 5th mid-year coordination meeting at the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. The well-attended opening ceremony held on Sunday at the United Nations African headquarters in Gigiri, Nairobi. It was a first for Nigeria's president, who had been sworn into office nearly 2 months before. His presence acknowledged by the Kenyan President, William Ruto. Mr. Ruto, in his opening speech, informed leaders on visa issuance, which he says may not be necessary when next they arrive in the country, because Kenya is the home for all.
I want to give you my commitment that as the people of Kenya, we are having a national conversation as to whether we should have any visa for anybody coming home. So next time you come to Nairobi, you might not need a visa.
He then turned focus on the reason for the meeting, which is part of efforts towards African integration. He described the continent as a busy one, reasoning solutions together and getting results.
It is more critical now than ever before that we marshal our collective consciousness, willpower, solidarity and unity to fulfill our fundamental generational mandate of introducing Africa as a new global power, ready and able to provide leadership towards a new industrial age that shall simultaneously usher in an era of inclusive development, shared prosperity, and effective climate action.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, in his maiden speech as Nigerian President and ECOWAS chair, warned on past plundering and exploitation of the continent, which he says should remain in the past and never repeated. He emphasized the need for Africa to overcome its challenges and work towards a prosperous future, focusing on inclusive growth, good governance, and leveraging the opportunities provided by the African Continental Free Trade Area, whose agreement only 13 out of 15 ECOWAS member states have ratified.
Challenges will face mean that governance will be difficult. They also mean that visionary good governance is necessary. Some observers said a new scramble for Africa is afoot, and it is much like the old scramble that plundered our continent.
Speaking on the free movement of persons, President Tinubu informed that ECOWAS had commenced action toward the implementation of a harmonized visa regime, that is the ECO visa, to facilitate the free movement of non-ECOWAS citizens. He reaffirmed ECOWAS' focus on building regional infrastructure, including the Lagos-Abidjan Corridor Highway, to promote economic activities and integration.
Your Excellency.
The Deputy UN Secretary-General Amina Mohammed highlighted the important role of the UN as a key contributor to an empowered and transformed Africa. Using herself as an example, she called for a more united continent.
The continent faces a moment of reckoning when the world appears to take its gaze off Africa. We may appear down, but we are far from out. And as our leaders, we continue to count on you to forge a path towards delivering the vision for Africa that is enshrined in the 2063 agenda.
In the course of the meetings, the AU Executive Council is expected to appoint some members of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the African Advisory Board Against Corruption, the African Union Committee of Experts on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the African Union Commission on the International Law, and a member of the Board of External Auditors. Amarachi Ubani, Channel Television News.
And back home to the Judiciary, where Counsel to President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima has asked the Presidential Election Petition Court to dismiss the petition of the Labour Party and, of course, Mr. Peter Obi. Mr. Wole Soyinka, in his final written address against the petition of Obi and the Labour Party LP, described the arguments and testimonies of the challengers' witnesses as frivolous, bogus, and based on hearsay. Based on the arguments and submissions contained in this address, we urge this honourable court to dismiss this petition as totally lacking in merit, substance, and bona fide. Well, the senior advocate of Nigeria argued that the remote contention of the petitioners that his client's election should also be cancelled for not scoring 25% or 1/4 of the votes recorded in the Federal Capital Territory is not backed by any fact known to the law, as the use of "and" in the Constitution is conjunctive and not disjunctive. In his conclusion, Mr. Soyinka further referenced a pronouncement of the Supreme Court in a case between Elias and Omobari of 1982, where Udo Udoma, a justice of the Supreme Court, said, quote, "If there was ever any case completely starved of evidence, this is certainly one. This case clearly cries to high heavens in vain to be fed with relevant and admissible evidence. The appellant woefully fails to realize that judges do not act like the oracles of life, which is often engaged in crystal gazing, and thereafter would proclaim a new Oba in succession to a deceased Oba. Judges cannot perform miracles in their handling of civil claims, and at least of all, manufacture evidence for the purpose of assisting a plaintiff win his case." The governorship candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, in the March 18, 2023 governorship election in Enugu State, Mr. Frank Nweke Jr., has withdrawn his petition against the winner of the election and governor of the state, Peter Mba, of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Mr. Nweke, who came third in the governorship election with 17,983 votes, as against Mba's 160,895 votes, announced the withdrawal of the petition at the Enugu State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal today through an oral application by his counsel, RACE Achara. Mr. Achara said it became imperative to withdraw the petition filed on 11th April this year in order to reduce the workload of the tribunal. The tribunal consequently granted the wish and dismissed the petition accordingly. Confirming the withdrawal, Mr. Nweke Jr., who was a minister in the Olusegun Obasanjo administration, said he decided to withdraw the petition against Mr. Mba for personal reasons. To the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives is to screen the acting service chiefs tomorrow. That's June the 17th. Now, the screening is expected to hold largely behind closed doors. The Senate had earlier screened and confirmed the service chiefs on Thursday last week. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has asked the leadership of the National Assembly to drop the plan to spend 40 billion naira on 465 exotic and bulletproof cars for members and principal officials and 70 billion naira as palliatives for new members. The rights group asked the National Assembly to repeal the 2022 Supplementary Appropriation Act to reduce the budget for the legislature and reflect the current economic realities in the country and address the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy on poorer Nigerians. It had also requested President Bola Tinubu to present a fresh supplementary appropriation bill and redirect the 110 billion naira to address the situation of the over 20 million out-of-school children in Nigeria for the approval of the National Assembly. In a letter, Serap says the proposed spending is a travesty and a grave violation of the public trust and constitutional oath of office for members of the National Assembly. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, is assuring Nigerians that the 10th National Assembly will create constitutional roles for traditional rulers in the country. He gave this assurance during a courtesy visit to the Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, at his palace in Zaria, Kaduna State.
It is a homecoming for the Speaker of the House of Representatives as he arrives Zaria in Kaduna State. Addressing members of his constituency in Hausa language, the Speaker assures the Emir of Zazzau that the House of Representatives, under his leadership, will revisit the position paper written by the traditional rulers across the 6 geopolitical zones and ensure that they are assigned constitutional roles under the present administration.
We thank God that today your son is the Speaker of the House of Representatives and in a position to revisit the traditional rulers' agitation.
The Speaker also appreciates the Emir and the Zazzau Emirate Council for the warm reception accorded him on his first homecoming as the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
We will work assiduously with the various state houses of assembly in order to ensure that the glory of the traditional institution is restored.
On his part, the Emir of Zazzau notes that the agitation to assign constitutional roles for traditional rulers is not an attempt to create another tier of government as being feared by most politicians.
The role of the traditional institution cannot be overemphasized because the traditional institution has played important roles since from First Republic, Second Republic, and even till today.
The Speaker, who was accompanied by 70 other members of the House of Representatives, is visiting his constituency for the first time after his election as the Speaker of the 10th National Assembly.
In part 2, after the break, I'll be joined by our data analyst, Babajide Ogusawo, to tell us more on the 500 billion naira loan which has been approved by the National Assembly, to find out what exactly the areas of needs and expectations on Nigerians.
State Government's special invitation. His Excellency Sir Siminalai Fubara, GSSRS, Governor of Rivers State, cordially invites the good people of our dear state and the general public to the official flag-off of the 50.15 kilometers Port Harcourt Ring Road by the former Governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Chief Barrister Nyesom Ezewanwike, CON, GSSRS Life Bencher. Date Monday, 17th July 2023. Venue UTC Junction, Port Harcourt. Time 11 a.m. This is signed by the River State Government.
Take it from me, the mind-blowing way to do things is the Glow LTE advanced way. When you stream, it's like you're in the drama itself. When you make calls, you reach where others can't. Doing business is like running Wall Street. From your street. And when you play,
I can beat you guy. We'll see about that.
It's like traveling the world without moving an inch.
Is that Toby in your room?
You can download in the blink of an eye in 4K.
Go.
And when you go for your dreams, it's like running with the strength of 3 nations behind you.
Glow LTE Advanced, the power of 3 data networks in one. Get a Glow SIM or dial *301#.
Whether you're a homemaker or a fashionista or an entrepreneur or a traveler, no matter who or where you are, there's a Keystone card made just for you.
Visit any Keystone branch nearest to you or download the Key mobile app to get your card today. Keystone Bank. We grow together.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. Every morning is one day closer to your ambition. So, make every morning count. Cup after cup, morning after morning. Start strong, finish strong. Nescafe.
If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. The President attends his maiden mid-year coordination AU summit, advocates unity, visionary leadership and good governance for Africa. Also appeals to heads of government to work towards having a stable continent devoid of conflicts. Shock as first-year female undergraduate student of Osun State University is arrested for alleged advance free fraud and armed robbery. School wields big stick, suspends her from the university. Doctors in Cross River State embark on indefinite strike over the abduction of one of their own. State chairman of the Medical Association says the female doctor was kidnapped from her residence by armed men. And Carlos Alcaraz affirmed his position as the world #1 by beating Novak Djokovic in 5 sets, his maiden Wimbledon crown and second Grand Slam title. The Ninth Assembly, which expired on June the 11th this year, passed more than 500 bills, some of them extremely important legislations to promote and sustain democracy, democratic institutions, good governance and accountability. However, there were some key legislations not passed by the Assembly, which observers of the legislature are asking the 10th Assembly to revisit. In this report, National Assembly correspondent Linda Kibi highlights some of these legislations.
Lawmaking, representation and oversight, the 3 broad and essential functions of a legislature in a democracy. These are also the responsibilities Nigerians look forward to from the new 10th Assembly, which was inaugurated on June 13, 2023. The previous 9th Assembly passed some landmark legislations, namely the Federal Audit Bill, Data Protection Bill, Petroleum Industry Bill, Electoral Bill, Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Production Sharing Contract, as well as a Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Bill, Terrorism and Prevention and Prohibition Bill, and the Process of Crime Recovery and Management Bill.
Those against any report, Chairman.
But the 9th Assembly fails to pass the Electoral Offences Bill, which keen observers of Parliament say is important to ensure transparent elections. The 9th Assembly also failed to pass the Fiscal Responsibility Act Amendment Bill, intended to compel defaulting MDAs to remit revenue due to government to the Federation account.
The Electoral Offences Commission, the bill was pending in the last Assembly. It should be one of the first bills we expect the 10th National Assembly to revisit. itself. Like, this is important because we are talking about curbing impunity.
And as activists in the civil society space hope that the 10th Assembly will revisit the Electoral Offences Commission bill. They also want Parliament to reconsider the 5 gender bills which failed spectacularly in the 9th Assembly.
Reserve seat bill, citizenship, indigenship bill, affirmative action bill, and the one for ministerial and commissioner were not passed in the 9th Assembly. And I'm hoping that in the 10th Assembly, they will prioritize these bills, in terms of advancing women's right to equality. Now, why is the reserve seat bill important? It is important because historically, since 1999, we've seen a dwindling representation of women in politics, especially in our political leadership. While we seem to have increased women participation, we have fewer women representation.
Beyond the gender bills which failed during the Constitution review done in the 9th Assembly, some lawmakers in the 10th Assembly are desirous of seeing the passage of the Constitution review bills, which former President Muhammadu Buhari did not assent to.
For me, areas like, one, this independent candidacy, areas like indigenship, whether you are married to a man, whether you are qualified to claim the indigenship of where your husband is from, and then whether you have spent 10 years in the place and you are qualified to be voted for, and since you are qualified to vote.
The 10th Assembly is coming on board at a time when Nigeria is grappling with high cost of food and transportation worsened by the removal of petrol subsidy, as well as high inflation and unemployment rates and pervasive insecurity, all of which demand urgent legislative interventions from Parliament. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
Nobel laureate and literary luminary Professor Wole Soyinka has taken the opportunity of his 89th birthday celebrations to demand from the federal government certain requests. Professor Soyinka, while lamenting the level of intolerance in the society, has asked the federal government to open a case file for everyone that has been murdered in an extrajudicial manner using the late Deborah Samuel as reference. The Nobel laureate also wants the international community to extend the visa ban to religious bigots, while also making a case for traditionalists in Nigeria.
And I'm using our presence, our collective presence and creative energy in this place to make 3 requests of all the security agencies of this country and of the governance itself, right from the president to the lowest individual in this country. 3 requests to make, demands, in fact, to make on behalf of humanity. 1, all the case files must be opened on all those who've been killed as a result of intolerance. I don't care whether they were said to have abused this avatar or this prophet or not. The important thing is that they have been extrajudicially murdered. And time again, these files disappear. The students who butchered, who killed in public, in open daylight, in the presence of armed police, the students who were arrested have been released. I understand that the police, some police commander made a comment that they are not expected to go and manufacture accused or the criminal perpetrators. Imagine that kind of language coming from those who are supposed to protect us in this country. Something was done there, films were made, the students who chased that girl into what you considered safety, they're known. Some of them were arrested, and then they were freed. So 3 requests. I've made 1. The files should be opened, beginning with Deborah, on all those who have been killed extrajudicially in the name of religion. 2, I want all of us who have connections anywhere in the world, in fact, beginning here, address the diplomats and so on, you know, they assist the world by denying visas to violent politicians, right? It happened during the last elections. They even named names. They say, we're not going to give visas to this person. We're not going to give all those who preach violence in politics, that we will not give them visa. We say extend it to religious bigots. Extend this to those who preach and who applaud violence in the name of religion. Let's tackle the embassies. Tell your governments, they assist us. These people, they live here, these hypocrites, they go to these other places, they drink to their heart's content, debauch themselves anyhow, then they come here in the name of piety. They can restrict our own lifestyles, our own choices. 3, it's about time we demanded, on behalf of traditional religions, an annual holiday like Islam and Christianity. We've had enough. We had enough of being second-class citizens in this nation. So, equal time, equal space, we demand public holidays. We demand it of state governments, local governments, and the federal government. We want an annual public holiday. Those are my 3 demands in this home of the Muses.
Doctors in Cross River State have embarked on a total and indefinite strike in solidarity with one of their members abducted on Thursday from her residence in Calabar. The strike was announced by the Nigerian Medical Association Cross River State branch after an emergency general meeting in Calabar on Sunday. That's today. Dr. Ekanem Ephraim, a medical practitioner with the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, was kidnapped from her residence by armed men who pretended to be patients at about 7:30 p.m. on Thursday. The doctor said all efforts to secure her release have proved abortive. Now let's take you to the story on the planned disbursement of the 500 billion naira loan, which the president has finally gotten approval from the National Assembly. Mr. Muda Yusuf, who is the Director Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, believes government's intentions may be good, but he is skeptical about the disbursement, particularly because the country does not have a proper database.
For some of these policies, just as I said, we need proper coordination. For instance, we are talking about palliatives. Then we suddenly heard from FRS that they want to go and be collecting VAT from the informal sector. We are talking about palliatives. The discos were coming up with proposals to increase electricity tariff. Meanwhile, the palliatives has not even come. So all of these things don't add up. And we must be sure that we are facing the same direction. And they should take a cue from what the president is telling us. The president has said it severally, that he acknowledges the pain that we are going through, and something was being done. So I think the government should advise all its agencies to put a hold on any process of reviewing any fees, charges, taxes. All these things should be frozen for now. I'm talking of increases. And what the customs and the central bank has done should be reversed. We cannot absorb a 80% increase in import duty across board. That is not sustainable. The shock on the system will be too much. And when we are talking about agriculture, yes, it is good to release grains and fertilizer and all of that. But again, the approach has to be very holistic. When we are talking about agric, we should be looking at the entire value chain of agriculture. That is why involvement of stakeholders is very important. We should be looking at the input segment. What are the critical inputs for agriculture? What are the bottlenecks in assessing those inputs? Like machineries, like improved seedlings, like agrochemicals, so many inputs that they use in agriculture, like feeds. Then there's the processing segment of it. What are the challenges in food processing sector? There's the marketing, there is the distribution, there is the storage. All of these things have to be taken together so that we can deliver the right outcomes in terms of intervention. And in terms of transportation, we need to cut down the import duty on these mass transit buses so that employers of labor the state government, the local government, the federal government will be able to afford these buses. Rather than reduce the import duty, the customs and CBN are even increasing the import duty the more. This is a complete contradiction of the kind of thing we are expecting from the administration. So it is important to put all of these things together so that you can bring the desired relief to the citizens of this country.
The word palliative is not strange to Nigeria's economy or its politics. What may be strange this time around is who gets what and how. Babajide Ogunsoro, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is right here to share some insights about the federal government's new loan disbursement program to poor and vulnerable Nigerians. It's great to have you, Babajide.
Good evening, Ayot.
All right, so let's get right into it. We're talking about the loan disbursement now. So I want to ask you, will this proposal, for this new cash disbursement plan, reduce the pains of subsidy removal, especially for the ordinary Nigerian, or the common man, as we normally say?
So it depends on what perspective and how you want to look at it. It's like if I ask you, if you put a tablespoon of salt in the ocean, will it make the ocean more saltier? The answer is yes. But will the ocean feel it? The answer is no. And so how do I describe the 500 billion naira loan, the $800 million World Bank facility? I'll describe it in these terms. If you put on sunglasses on a bulldog,
point of correction there.
Yeah, $800 billion and 500 billion naira. That's
yes.
But if you put on sunglasses on a bulldog, yes, it will make the bulldog finer, but will it make the bulldog less dangerous? The answer is no. And so this palliative, what we've done is we've put on sunglasses on a more dangerous problem. It looks nice, but is the bulldog less dangerous? No. What do I mean by, and what are the bulldogs in the Nigerian context? Number one, inflation. Going by the last and the most recent inflation report from the National Bureau of Statistics, in their own words, inflation now 22.4%. Why is this important? The last time Nigeria's inflation was at 22.4% was in September 2005. That is 12.5 years ago. So in this case, inflation is a bulldog, and all these loans and palliatives is just like wearing sunglasses on the bulldog. Inflation still remains as dangerous. The second bulldog, unemployment. The last unemployment rate shows that more than half of Nigerians who are in the labor force say they are either unemployed or underemployed. Palliatives makes this bulldog put sunglasses on the bulldog, but the unemployment problem remains the same. Poverty, 8,000 naira per month, an equivalent of about just $10 a month. We still have more than 100 million Nigerians suffering from multi-dimensional poverty. Based on the facts, will this palliative make people less poor? The answer is no. Again, we are wearing sunglasses on a bulldog. The bulldog, yes, will look finer, but this bulldog, when we're talking about inflation, unemployment, and poverty, these bulldogs are still as dangerous, even though with the palliatives, they look finer.
All right, so let's talk about the implications. Because with the reallocation of this 500 billion naira to manage some of the negative consequences of the subsidy removal, by the president, what are the implications really?
Lots of ways to look at it. Let's first of all take a look at how much 500 billion naira will have as impact on aggregate consumer spending, how much Nigerians spend. And if we take a look at, again, the facts, we're not talking about opinions. Facts are sacred, opinions are free. If we take a look at the facts, it shows that last year, on an aggregate, Nigerians spent 130 trillion naira. Nigerians spend significantly more than the government. And so a 500 billion naira, $800 million still really has, relative to how much Nigerians spend, is still less than 1%. Again, we are wearing sunglasses for the bulldog. The problem is still as dangerous. And this impact, yes, like I also say, is like putting a teaspoon of salt in the ocean. Does it make the ocean saltier? Yes. But will the ocean be able to feel the saltiness? Perhaps no. Again, 130 trillion naira aggregate spending in the country. Last year, a 500 billion naira loan that will be disbursed to Nigerians, $800 million from the World Bank. Again, the impact might not be felt on the economy. Those are the facts. Now, the second thing to look at and to understand about why inflation and 500 billion naira need to be considered is, Ayotunde, based on our current inflation rate, in 6 months, 500 billion naira because of inflation will be the equivalent of only 440 billion naira. In other words, because of the rate at which the naira is losing value, every day we are losing 300 million naira. You heard me right. 300 million naira is being lost every day from 500 billion naira only because of inflation. That shows you how fast the naira is deteriorating. Now, the second thing is that evidence that we have also lets us know that because of the profile of those that potentially will be receiving these monies, not all of this money will go on food, transport, or health. Ayotunde, some of these beneficiaries are known to spend these monies on cigarettes, marijuana, and alcohol, making even their health worse and making the government pay even more to be able to treat them. So we need to find a more accurate way to measure the impact, the cause and effect of monies that will be given to people, or other ways that we want to make life more meaningful for people, especially for the common man, like you've said. We need to look at the numbers and not stop focusing on opinions. Looking at the facts, we clearly can know what is about to happen.
All right, very quickly, because we're running out of time. I mean, what other palliatives or what other things should be done, I mean, to help ease the suffering of the common man, you know, despite of these palliatives that we're even talking about here?
Sorry, Tony, there's a question that the president we need to give the president an answer to, and that is, why are Nigerians suffering? And the answer is that we need to look at which sector in Nigeria employs most Nigerians. The answer, the agricultural sector. And so, Ayotunde, when the agricultural sector catches a cold, the economy shivers. In simple terms, since agriculture employs more Nigerians than any other sector, if agriculture is not performing well, the nation wouldn't perform well. And if we take a look at the numbers from the National Bureau of Statistics in terms of how agriculture has performed in this last 1 decade, it allows us to know that more than any other sector, the agricultural sector needs to be revived. In the last 10 years, we've seen in 2013, the agricultural sector only grew by 3%, 4% in 2014, but look at what has happened to the agricultural sector since 2018. Since 2018, sectoral growth has been flat, only 2%, in a sector that has the potential to grow as much as 25 to 30%. You know, we were here last week, and one of our recommendations was that the president needs to declare a state of emergency on food. And less than 100 hours after we had that discussion, the president took that bold move. The president also needs to keep his eyes on growing the agricultural sector. If the agricultural sector does not grow, the president's perception will not grow, Ayotunde.
I will certainly leave it at that. Babaji Dogusan, thank you for your thoughts again on the News at 10.
Don't forget, we could always put sunglasses on a dog, on a bulldog, to make it look finer. But it's still a bulldog. It's still a bulldog.
As dangerous as ever.
As dangerous as ever, Ayotunde.
Moving on now, a 100-level female student of the Osun State University has been suspended indefinitely by the institution for alleged involvement in conspiracy and robbery of 1.5 million naira from a Lagos-based businessman. The Vice-Chancellor of the Osun State University, Professor Clement Adeboye, announced the suspension of Victory Ayante, a student of English and Literary Studies, while addressing journalists at the main campus in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. The VC explains that the suspension is in line with regulations pending the determination of her case. The suspect was arrested by operatives of the State Police Command after allegedly luring her social media boyfriend from Lagos to Ikire, where her boyfriend, known as Ifanla, and his other friends robbed the victim of his phone and transferred over 1.5 million naira out of his bank account.
We have examined the case of Ms. Ayante Victory Iremen It is a shock to us, and we are not happy about it. The university considers it high level of crime, which is still being investigated by the police. She's in her first year of study in this university, meaning that this student has not defended her admission into the university. We got security report on her case, we gathered intelligence, and with the official information available, an allegation of conspiracy and robbery has been established against her by the police authorities. Consequently, she is in police custody for further investigation and prosecution. Ms. Ayante Victory Ehiremen alleged involvement in a criminal act is in violation of her matriculation oath. She has made a written statement which the university has considered alongside the available intelligence reports and other reports. Therefore, exercising the power of the Vice Chancellor of this university, using the authorities of this university, I have therefore decided to act as dictated by law. And therefore, Ms. Ayante Victory Ehiremen is hereby placed on indefinite suspension by the authorities of this university in accordance with the regulations guiding studentship, pending when her case will be determined according to the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by constituted authorities.
Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, have arrested a 19-year-old student, Namani Daberichi, for attempting to export 7.2 kilograms of methamphetamine concealed in crayfish. The teenage suspect was intercepted during an outward clearance of passengers on Turkish Airlines flight TK0624. While being interviewed by operatives, Daberichi claimed he was a student on his way to Cyprus for studies, but upon a thorough search of his luggage, he was found in possession of 7.2 kilograms of the whitish substance neatly concealed inside a sack of crayfish. A field test of the substance, however, proved positive to be methamphetamine. He also attempted to export various quantities of illicit substances through courier companies, were equally thwarted by the NDLEA operatives of the Directorate of Operation and General Investigations in Lagos, while 336 grams of skunk stuffed inside the computer hard drive going to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates were seized at a courier firm. A suspect, Ibrahim Analu, 28 years of age, was arrested at the Do Motor Park in Lagos while attempting to send 151,700 pills of opioids to Kaduna. A total of 4.83 kilograms of skunk was also discovered at another courier firm in a shipment from Douala, Cameroon, passing through Nigeria to Oman. The drug was concealed in 10 of 12 cans of palm fruit paste, locally called banga, packed in a carton. Also a Lekki, Lagos-based female lawyer, Ebikolade Helen, who specializes in production and distribution of scooches, that's a mixture of cannabis, opioids, and blackcurrant, has been arrested in a follow-up operation in Oka, Anambra State, following an earlier seizure of 5 kilograms cannabis and 12 bottles of prepared scooches in her apartment at Lekki. Crisis may be brewing in the once peaceful community of Opunembe in Nembe local government area of Bayelsa State in Nigeria's south-south. Some chiefs are alleging that they have been exiled from the community, while the secretary to the Nembe Council of Chiefs is refuting the allegation of targeted violence against the chiefs. The governor of Bayelsa State, in an attempt to quell the rising insecurity in Opunembe, has warned mischief makers from stirring up trouble in that community.
Chiefs of Opunembe community in Nembe local government area are in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, to address this press conference where they claim to have been exiled from their village for attending the birthday party of the former Minister of State and governorship candidate of the APC, Mr. Timothy Silva, in what is now suspected to have political undertone. The crisis started when suspected thugs, allegedly loyal to a political leader, invaded the community in February, which led to the death of 3 youths. The community is now sharply divided, hence this meeting by section in the state capital.
Precisely on 8 July 2023, the president of the Youth Federation, Mr. Ayerete Ebinimi Moses, pronounced the exiling of 28 chiefs from Opunembe Basamri. The said chiefs attended the birthday party of His Excellency, Chief Honorable Timipre Marlins Silva, former Minister of Petroleum State. The question is, when did such act of celebrating with a son and a brother in his birthday become a crime in Opunembe?
While asking security agencies to come to their aid, some of the chiefs and others explained what transpired.
My house was vandalized. Everything in the house was carted away, even pin. The windows, even the frames were removed.
They said we are among of those that are supporting the other group. So none of us will stay in the community. If we stay in the community, we will be communicating with them. So they spoiled our things, drove us out of the community.
Channel's television crew visited Opunembe and met with the secretary of the Council of Chiefs and the accused youth president, who both denied the allegations with counter-accusations.
If you attend whatever, marriage, wedding, whatever, of the person that is alleged to have had a hand in the brutal killings, what will the rest of the community take you to be? The Chiefs Council has nothing whatsoever to do with this story they are alleging.
I think what they're trying to do is, in a way, they can arrest some political opponents like me, Brigid, and others, so that their Master Silva can win this town during the governorship election come November. But as for anybody chasing them away from town, there is nothing of such.
The government of Bayelsa State has frowned on the continuous chants of violence from Opunembe and warned mischief makers to desist or face the wrath of the law.
One of the responsibilities of government is the provision of infrastructure to the people, and motorable road is key. But for residents of Akute, Lambe and Ajuwon communities in Ifo local government area of Ogun State, it appears to be a far cry from what is obtainable in other parts of the state. They are appealing to the state government to, as a matter of urgency, repair the roads now in very deplorable conditions.
Akute, Lambe and Ajuwon boundary communities have witnessed increase in population and business as a result of their proximity to Lagos. While this is a positive development for the local and state governments in terms of revenue generation, it does not reflect in the state of infrastructure. The roads connecting these towns are almost impossible. It becomes even worse after a heavy downpour. The construction of this abandoned bridge started under the administration of former Ogun State Governor Ibikunle Amosun, and it appears nothing has been done since he left office. Beyond the overpass, the condition of the Akute-Lambe road is worse, with large potholes spreading. The journey through the road leading to the Agbado end offers an unpleasant experience for motorists, residents, and business owners.
What we are seeing are just patches of what can be called a shame, not only to the community, but to the government at large. It is not that we are not appreciative, but our expectation is that we hope we will get government attention, because they have been coming and promising and promising and promising. Nothing has been achieved. And as good citizens, we are always supportive of government efforts, activities, programs, but we have gotten nothing out of it.
You can see most of the shops here are shut down. Because why? The rain have to send some of them away. So the flood will enter their shops. To sell things will become another thing. If it rains, most of people have to quickly pack their things to leave, because the road is something else.
Despite its deplorable state, motorable sections on the Akute-Lambe road has been made possible by community efforts.
In 2021, we had to levy ourselves. We spent almost more than 4.5 million to open up the drainages from Tipa Garage to Mobile, that to Osaro, that we were the one that opened that road this thing, and we leveled it, and people were able to use it for at least throughout the year.
The same situation applies to Ajuwon.
It does not be convenient at all. Many people move away from this site because of this particular road you are seeing. Some people pass wrong way to get to their houses because of this particular road, in terms of economy and every other thing, social life.
Joining streets like Akute Odo have also been damaged by flood.
This place is Ogun State, right? This road, this tar road is from Lagos State, Lagos State Water Corporation. Very long time. Yes, very long time.
Reconstruction work, which appears to have started at the Alagbole and Denro Ishashi entry points to Akute, is assumed to have been abandoned, leaving only some sections motorable. The outcry of residents and motorists concerning the conditions of roads in this part of Ifo local government area is not new to many, including successive administrations and the present one in Ogun State. They are looking forward to a favorable response from the authorities.
Welcome to Sports News. Carlos Alcaraz has defeated seven-time champion Novak Djokovic to claim his first Wimbledon title this evening, shattering the Serb's dream of a record equaling 24th Grand Slam crown. World number one, Alcaraz recovered from dropping the first set and saving the set point in the second to win 1-6, 7-6, 6-1, 3-6, 6-4 after 4 hours and 42 minutes on centre court. It was the second major for the 20-year-old Spaniard following his US Open title last year, as became Wimbledon's third youngest men's champion.
Well, it's it's a dream come true for me. As I said before, of course, it's great to win, but even if I will have lost, I could be really proud of myself, in this amazing run, making history in this beautiful tournament, playing a final against a legend of our sport. For me, it's incredible, as I said, it's a dream come true, be able to, play in these stages. It's amazing.
In athletics, Nigerian world record holder Tobi Amusa overcame a slow start to claim victory in the 100 meters hurdles event at the Silesia Diamond League in Poland, sprinting to a season best of 12.34 seconds that equaled the meeting record in Trozo, Poland. Amusa edged USA's Kendra Harrison, who finished second in the time of 12.35 seconds, while 2019 world champion Nia Ali of USA finished third in 12.38 seconds. The Commonwealth gold medalist produced a strong finish to win the highly competitive women's 100 meters hurdles ahead of her rivals for next month's World Athletics Championships in Budapest. Sporting Lagos FC have emerged champions of the maiden Niger Super 8 after beating Remo Stars on penalties in the final played this evening at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena Onikon in Lagos. The newly promoted Niger Professional Football League team triumphed 4-2 on penalties after a 1-0 draw in regulation time. For emerging winner, Sporting Lagos was awarded the star prize of 25 million naira, while Remo got 9 million naira as the runners-up. Harry Maguire has announced he is no longer captain of Manchester United following talks with manager Erik ten Hag. The central defender made just 8 Premier League starts, sparking speculation over his future with the English Premier League giants. But what is now certain is he will no longer be the skipper at Old Trafford, with Maguire confirmed on his official Twitter handle that he is informed by Ten Hag that he is changing the captain of the team. On the international scene, at least 9 bodies have been recovered from a flooded tunnel near the South Korean city of Cheongju. A flooded water caused by days of torrential rain poured into the underpass so quickly that passengers and drivers were trapped in their cars, unable to escape. Authorities there say at least 37 people have died in total after flooding, landslides and power cuts across much of the country. Almost 300 millimeters of rain reported to have fallen across South Korea on Saturday.
Authorities in South Korea searched for more bodies trapped in a flooded tunnel after 5 bodies were recovered earlier Sunday morning, taking the death toll from the days of torrential rain pounding the country to 31 as at that time. The victims were found from a bus that had been submerged at a flooded underpass in Cheongju on Saturday. The Ministry of Interior and Safety announced more deaths earlier as the heavy rains caused landslides and floods across the country, with evacuations covering more than 7,000 people. As the morning wore on, authorities said at least 7 bodies of people trapped in the flooded tunnel had been pulled out. Authorities mobilized about 30 divers for the search and rescue. They were grappling with a lot of mud in the tunnel. Rescue teams were kept busy over the weekend assisting people caught in the rising floodwaters caused by unabating heavy rain. The Korea Meteorological Administration said central and southern parts of the country could receive as much as 300 millimeters of additional rain by Tuesday, July 18. President Yoon Suk-yeol, who just visited Ukraine, convened a video link response meeting on Sunday over the heavy rain in the country. President Yoon was speaking from his plane as he traveled through Poland after meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky. He had ordered Prime Minister Han Dok-soo to mobilize all available resources to minimize casualties and urged the weather agency to quickly release forecasts before more heavy rain was expected in the coming days. It is unclear how many people are still trapped in the 685-meter-long tunnel in the town of Osong, but 15 vehicles are thought to also be submerged. Aerial pictures from flood-affected areas showed brown mud and floodwaters so deep only the tops of roofs can be seen sticking out.
The inspiration behind the famous Birkin bag, singer and actress Jane Birkin, has died. She was aged 76. The English-French star was known for her professional and personal relationship with musician Serge Gainsbourg and was considered a style icon in the late 1960s and 1970s. Birkin was also a model and came to be widely seen as a fashion trendsetter, inspiring the Birkin handbag, a style put into production by Hermes. A French culture minister, Roselyne Bachelot, told French media that Birkin's departure was so sad and that she was a beautiful person. And the main news again. The President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has attended his maiden media coordination AU summit and has advocated for unity, visionary leadership and good governance for Africa. President Tinubu also appealed to heads of government to work towards having a stable continent devoid of conflicts. And Carlos Alcaraz has defeated 7-time champion Novak Djokovic to claim his first Wimbledon title, shattering the Serb's dream of a record equaling 24th Grand Slam crown. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a good night.